Hi, my name is Dan, and welcome to New Mexico Rising. A little later in the show, we're going to see a robot on Mars, and the kids from Avatar, and how you can help out the Salvation Army. But you know, it's time of year when people are thinking about refreshing and making resolutions to focus more on health. But there is something we might be overlooking. What does the body need to build stronger muscles? Well, today I have Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, a specialist in muscle-centric medicine and an expert on healthy muscle aging. She's here to join us live from New York this morning to tell us a little more. Good morning, Dr. Lyon. How are you?
Good morning, Dan. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing okay this morning. At least I've been trying to get on top of being fit for the new year. But it's still not working for me, and I think I need your help a little bit. So,
got it.
As many of us are focusing on health, where should we focus on getting the best results?
Yeah, well, the first thing that we have to think is, listen, it's not about losing body fat. It's all about building muscle. Muscle is the organ of longevity. And really, when you think about all things health and wellness, it begins and ends in skeletal muscle.
Okay. So why does cellular health deserve so much attention? And how do you recommend that we take care of ourselves?
Yeah, it's like kind of a weird thought, cellular health. Well, when we think about cellular health, you have to think about muscle because muscle makes up 40% of the body, and the majority of your quote cellular health is going to be found in skeletal muscle. And when your muscle and cellular health is low, you're going to feel fatigued, you're going to feel tired, and that's really important. So you have to think about strategies to improve cellular health. And the way in which you're going to know that you improved it is through feeling more energy and being stronger and having more endurance.
So are there certain foods or even secret nutritional hacks that we should incorporate into our diet for this cell development, you say?
Yeah, you bet. I'm going to give you two options. Number one, dietary protein. High quality dietary protein at that first and last meal of the day is really going to help your overall energy. And number two, there is a component, there's a supplement called urolithin A. And urolithin A improves strength, endurance, and again, we were talking about cellular energy. It improves energy. And a great way to get urolithin A is through a company called MitoPure. And in just 8 weeks of using MitoPure, you will see changes in strength, endurance, and energy, even if you don't exercise.
Okay, well, let's talk about exercise. There are specific, most exercises that I don't like, but what do we really need to focus on? Is there anything that I could make it a little better in my life at least?
Yeah, well, number one, Dan, you better be liking exercise. So let's just say that you do. And number two, you got to think about resistance exercise. And that would be moving things, obviously, against resistance. And 3 to 4 days a week is really, really important. Again, as we age, there's a tendency, if we don't do much, we get weaker. So resistance exercise, 3 to 4 days a week is crucial for all things related to wellness. Yep. So Dan, I expect you to be doing those squats.
Okay, I'll try to do squats, but my twerking isn't as good as it should be. But the resistance exercise that I do get is trying to get my cat off my lap. It's just they don't want to do it. They keep resisting every single time. So it's very difficult for that. Dr. Lyon, where can we go for more information?
Yeah, head on over to timelinenutrition.com/Lyon, Lyon, and you can learn all about MitoPure and muscle health.
Well, thanks for joining us this year. I guess it's the whole year that it'll put us in a good mood to be fit and
get after it, Dan.
Happier.
Get after it.
I'm sure I figured out a word. But thank you, Dr. Lyon, for joining me this morning.
All right, Dan.
For the movie fans out there, Acclaimed is a touching documentary about a triathlete's inspirational journey back from a near-death accident. It's the story of Neil Myers, an amateur triathlete who just won the biggest race of his life with his team, the New York City Triathlon, and only 4 weeks later, he was fighting for his life in the Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital ICU. Spoiler alert, Neil Myers survived this harrowing incident, and we're lucky to have him here today to share his inspiring story. And after being in the hospital for nearly a month, in a wheelchair for another month, followed by extensive rehab, he could get back on his bike within 4 months of this accident. So welcome to the show, Neil. How are you, buddy?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, Dan. I'm actually doing great. Thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit about your story? I didn't want to tell the actual story of what happened, but I was going to leave that to you. So can you tell us a little bit of what happened and why you decided to make this documentary?
Absolutely. So I was in Santa Rosa training for the next triathlon. It was just, as you say, a month after New York, on Gibraltar Road, which is a very steep climb. I'd finished my training. I was on my way home late for dinner as usual, and I was just racing down, came around a blind curve, and there was a truck in my lane coming right back at me. No chance to react to that, so I hit it head on. Went right through the windshield, broke 16 bones in 26 places, collapsed both lungs, bruised my heart, had a massive concussion, brain bleed. Ended up, as you said, in the hospital and the rehab and so forth. The reason I made this film, the truth is, at first I didn't want to, because making a documentary about yourself is, it's a really tough thing to do. But the filmmaker in me looked at the story, and it was such a great story. I just knew I was never going to get a story like that. So that really won out, and I ended up making the documentary.
So what was the most challenging part of like your journey back to health?
You know, is patience. An injury that severe, it takes a long time to heal. It took me a full year to really get back, and you're working hard, and it just takes time, and that was hard for me. I can remember last day in the hospital that my main nurse came and said, "Neil, you survived. You're healing. You're gonna make it. I promise you. But not every day is going to be a step forward. Some will be a step back, and you need to keep faith." And my advice is just every day expect the best, but accept the rest. And I thought that was just great advice, and I had to really heed that for that entire year.
So how are you feeling today? Are there like any races planned for the horizon?
So I feel great. I'm 100% back. I think that's surprising to people that saw me that first day, but I think it's really just a testament to our bodies, and our human body knows how to heal. In terms of races, no, I don't race anymore. And the reason is I don't go fast anymore. I don't want to go back to the hospital. So to stay safe, I go at what my friends call Neil speed. But I do train. I've been actually back to Gibraltar more times, climbed it more times since the accident than before.
Gotcha. So where can we check out Climb, and what do you think, and what do you hope that the viewers could take away from it?
Sure. Best thing is just go to the website. It's climbdoc.org. That's CLIMBDOC.org. Everything you need is there. You can watch a trailer, read reviews, you can rent or buy the film there as well. I'm a filmmaker. What I hope is that people are entertained, and that seems to be the case. But the comment I hear the most, Dan, is that people are inspired by it. I think we're all on a journey. We all have things to do, and sometimes we get stuck, and it's hard to take that next step. When you see somebody that was battered down so close to death and makes it all the way back over a long journey, I think it gives people inspiration that they can do the same thing.
And as a filmmaker and artist, if you could go whisper in your ear on day one of production all the way to today, and you knew what was going on today, what piece of advice would you give yourself on day one of production and say, hey, don't do this or do this?
Yeah, I would say get B-roll from the day of the accident. It was 6 months before I started making it. And by that time, it was really hard to go find the visuals to tell the story.
Get more B-roll is the rule. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Neil, for joining me this morning. One more time with the website so we can go check out your documentary?
You bet. It's climbdoc.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me this morning, Neil.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Coming up a little later in the show, a little robot that could. And up next, the recruit, the new guy at the CIA. Will he survive the rest of the week? We'll find out.
Want to throw the best party of your entire life? ABQ Golf Games will bring the arcade to you. We guarantee more high fives and thumbs up than any party you've ever thrown. Impress your puppet friends. Bring ABQ Golf Games to your next birthday, corporate party, wedding, divorce, or funeral. ABQ Golf Games is a family-run small business owned and operated by a disabled veteran. Visit abqgolfgames.com or give us a call at 505-709-8581.
If you're a lawyer and you get thrown into a world of international espionage within your first week at the CIA, things might put you on edge, I assure you. So today we have the star and executive producer of the new series, The Recruit on Netflix, Noah Centineo, here to talk about his new show and tell us all about living his first life in the CIA. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Doing great. All right. When you were doing research in your role, I got a question. Did you have to study more of like the world of the CIA or the world of being a lawyer, or how do you intertwine the two and kind of put this into your show?
Yeah, a lot of it was understanding, the corporate side of the CIA, right? Being a lawyer and joining the CIA, Owen Hendricks, he joins it because he thinks it's going to be safer. So I just wanted to learn, really what the back end side, the administrative, the logistical side of being a lawyer at the CIA would be. And what I found is it's really like the post office, but with secrets.
The secrets, what draws you to the secrets that you liked about that?
Well, so Owen Hendricks, fresh out of law school, instead of taking a corporate gig, he decides to go to the CIA. And one of the secrets is that he gets assigned this, it's a case, if you will, but really what it is he has to go through what they call the crazies. And the crazies is when a bunch of people send mail to the CIA threatening to blackmail the agency, saying that they know things. Now, most of the time it's absurd and nothing really is valid, but he comes across a letter from a former asset who's been imprisoned asking the CIA to exonerate her of all of her crimes, or else she's going to release information that could bring down the CIA. And that's very, very serious, and that's a case that he has to take as a lawyer very seriously, otherwise his career could go up in flames. And this is, by the way, something that does happen often.
That's what I saw an interview saying that most of the stuff in this, or a lot of the stuff that's in this series, is real. Working as executive producer and star, like, how do you kind of navigate what's real and how do you put that into this project?
I really delegate all of that to Alexi Hawley. Alexi Hawley had analysts and advisors and former lawyers and former people at the CIA giving counsel. But it's true. A lot of what takes place in The Recruit happens, at the CIA, has happened, and will continue to probably happen.
So, when you're looking into the stories of behind the scenes of the CIA, what are some of the coolest things that you've learned, like that surprised you?
It is what you think.
Oh, okay.
We got, well, for the most part, I mean, you have to be vague about these sort of things. We were able to go to the CIA 2 days ago, actually sit down with 6 analysts and 6 attorneys. We asked a lot of questions and we were given very few answers.
So, okay, just like the CIA. I got one more question. Any idea of whether expanding Noah Centineo will do anything to become America's top heartthrob into a feature or a TV series for Netflix?
Say it again?
I see on your IMDb you have a movie that you wrote called Noah Centineo Will Do Anything to Become America's Top Heartthrob. And I was wondering if you would expand that into a Netflix series.
Oh, that's so funny. That's on my IMDb.
Yeah, I just saw it there. I was like, hey, you're seen as a writer credit on that, which is kind of funny on that.
I love that. I've never heard of that project in my entire life. I'm assuming someone got access to my IMDb. Maybe it was the CIA. Maybe they're playing a trick on me.
It could be. It's all that.
Because I've never heard of that project, but it is true. I will do absolutely anything to reclaim the title, America's Heartthrob.
Well, there you go. Going from a teen heartthrob to CIA mystery man. Hey, thank you very much for hanging out with me on the show today, bud.
Thank you.
Check out the new series, The Recruit. It's available now on Netflix. Thank you, guys. As we're moving into this new year, millions of families are facing an uphill battle of some sort. It's also due to the ongoing impacts of the pandemic. There's inflation, evictions, job loss, natural disasters, and more. The Salvation Army is committed to providing service and love to those in need and need help to kick off the new year. To help ensure the Salvation Army's wide range of services reaches more than 25 million people, they're calling upon the new and regular supporters to give. So today, we have Commissioner Kenneth G. Hodder, who's the National Commander of the Salvation Army, and Aaron and Ben Napier, hosts of HGTV's hit show, Hometown. They're here to show us a little bit of details on how to give back so that every family may live without fear of homelessness, food insecurity, or loss of hope. Welcome to the show, you three.
Thanks very much for being
Thank you.
an opportunity.
All right, why is it important to keep giving through the new year?
Right now, almost 2/3 of all Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and we're seeing that evidenced at the Salvation Army through an increase in the applications for assistance of about 30 to 50%, in some locations as much as 400%. People are having to make choices between putting food on the table or Christmas presents under the tree, between putting fuel in their cars or paying the heating bill. These are choices that people shouldn't have to make, and the Salvation Army is asking everyone to help their neighbors make sure that they don't have to make those choices by giving this Christmas season.
So how has the Salvation Army adapted to the community's needs, especially during the costs of everything rising and the lingering effects of the pandemic?
Well, the Salvation Army is seeing increasing costs, just as everyone else is seeing increasing costs. Our only ability to respond to that sort of change is to ask people to give a little bit more, to go a little bit deeper in their giving, because ultimately it's people giving to their neighbors that's going to make the difference. And the Salvation Army in every local community is going to be looking to ask people, help us make sure that your neighbors are taken care of.
How have you seen the Salvation Army meet local needs?
We've spent a lot of time with the Salvation Army this year on a couple of volunteer days and helping make a shelter that felt more like a home.
But the biggest thing for us is the way that we've been able to get our daughters involved in it.
Yeah.
And that's, as parents, that's the front of mind for you is how am I raising these kids that will one day be adults? And for us, charity is a big deal. It's important for us, and the Salvation Army was our first introduction to charity, but also it's now been our daughter's first introduction to charity.
It has been, and I don't think that I realized until the last couple years that when you give to the Salvation Army, it goes directly to your local branch of the Salvation Army. So you're not giving to someone far away, a nameless, faceless person that you don't know. You're giving to someone you might actually know, someone who might be in your church, somebody you might work with, somebody you might know in your community. And that, to me, is why the Salvation Army is so special, is because it takes care of your local, hometown neighbors and community who's in need.
All right, so how can people get involved and support their local Salvation Army?
The best source of information is at salvationarmyusa.org. All of the volunteering and giving opportunities in your community can be found there. If they find a Salvation Army kettle on their local street corner, they can also not only put a little money in the bucket, but they can use Google Pay, Apple Pay, Venmo, PayPal. And if you're at home, you can say to your Alexa device, Alexa, make a donation to the Salvation Army.
All right, well, thank you for joining us.
And a little later in the show, the kids of Avatar have a swear jar for their coworkers who are famous.
Do you want to have the best time of your entire life? ABQ Golf and Games is here for you. We guarantee more high fives and thumbs up than any other arcade you've ever been to. Impress your puppet friends. At Juan Tabo, just north of Lomas. Pay to get in and play all day. No cards to refill, coins needed, or hidden charges. You can even book ABQ Golf and Games for your next birthday, corporate party, wedding, divorce, or funeral. We'll bring the arcade to you. Visit ABQ Golf and Games or give us a call at 505-709-8581.
My next guest is the director of a movie of a small robot that's traveling to small unseen worlds and having to deal with the elements day in and day out. Fortunately for us, this is a true story about a small robot that's on the planet of Mars, and we have documentary filmmaker Ryan White, who's here to tell us the story of a little robot named Oppie that could. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me.
All right. I'm a big fan of your work. Your latest project is about Opportunity, which is the robot that's on Mars. I just wanted to see what your take was and getting immersed into the world of Opportunity and how traveling that far and what we're learning out there on Mars. I know that's a lot of questions, but what'd you get?
Well, I am a total space nerd and have been my entire life. So I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and I desperately wanted to be an astronaut. And so that was a dream that never worked out for me, and I became a filmmaker. But I knew as a documentary filmmaker that I could probably somehow con my way back into that world and live vicariously this dream that never panned out for me. And so the documentary is for sure about this little rover outlasting the odds on Mars, and we do take you to Mars on our film, but really at its heart, it's about the human beings here on Earth, millions of miles away from her, that are building her and operating her every day, and essentially falling in love with her like a family member.
What are some of the things that like really have shocked not just the scientists, but you interviewing these scientists that they learned from this robot?
Yeah, so the mission of the robot is twofold. You know, they have a scientific mission, and then they obviously have a technological mission. So even the fact that they could land these rovers on Mars was unheard of. The first two missions previous to this one had crash landings on Mars, and so were massive NASA failures. And so even landing Opportunity and her twin sister Spirit was almost impossible. And they both did land successfully in 2004, but also they both had a very specific scientific mission, and that was to discover if water, drinkable water, had ever existed on Mars. And throughout both of their journeys, you know, they landed on opposite sides of the planet, but they both, you know, unequivocally proved that drinkable water did once exist on Mars. And in fact, Opportunity, they call it the 300 million mile hole in one, because she actually landed in a crater that immediately, the moment she opened her eyes, she found evidence of bedrock, which is a type of geological formation that would happen in the presence of water. And so there are two current rovers currently on Mars that are alive. Opportunity and Spirit missions are both over, and those rovers are continuing that scientific mission to find the building blocks of past life on Mars.
All right, well, thank you very much for being part of the show this morning. I want to tell everybody out there, check out Ryan White's brand new documentary. It is Good Night Oppie, which is the story of Opportunity. So check it out. It's available on Amazon. All right, it was 2009 when we were treated to the first Avatar movie directed by James Cameron. And 12 years later, the world's most anticipated sequel, Avatar, The Way of Water, is now in theaters. We check in on the Na'vi a decade later, and now they have kids. So take it on a new generation of being blue in Pandora. Let's welcome the kids cast of Avatar, Way of Water. We have Jack Champion, Bailey Bass, Trinity Bliss, and Jamie Flatters. How are you four?
We're great. How are you?
Swell.
Doing fabulous. This is like the world's most anticipated sequel because it came out 12 years ago. James Cameron's been promising a really great, solid movie, and I'm excited to see this. When it came out, it was eye-popping, it was new, there was new technologies, and they kind of had to invent even more technologies to create this film. That's why it took so long. Can you guys tell us about shooting underwater for so long?
Yes, underwater performance capture.
Was crazy. I mean, groundbreaking. I have to say, though, Albuquerque, I met Aaron Paul at the Avatar premiere, and he said that it was amazing.
Oh, did he? Well, there you go. So, yeah, that's our Albuquerque. I know you, right when we jumped on, we were all talking about Breaking Bad and stuff, but how was it like working on this film? And like, you guys had to be underwater, or some of you had to be underwater for a lot of it. How was that?
Yeah.
That must have been grueling.
I play Centineo, who's part of the Mecaina clan, so because we're surrounded by water, a lot of our performance capture is done underwater. The average scenes were probably 4 minutes. Mm-hmm. We got to a point, 4 minutes underwater for us after we were trained, and I don't think we realized that we were part of something so revolutionary at the time. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And it was just we were just experiencing it all day to day.
I always looked forward to days in the tank with you all and just kind of being a little fish in the big tank and also doing our acting thing with all of you guys. And it was so much fun.
And how was it like walking on a set and having co-stars such as like Zoe Saldana, Sam Worthington, Kate Winslet, Sigourney Weaver, Jermaine Clement, all these people? How are these, like, how is that life walking in and be like, hey, these are my like co-stars, these are my new family?
I mean, I don't think I ever got used to, like, I mean, like, you get used to it, but you never, at the same time, never get used to, like, walking in the makeup room, you know, where you get, like, the face dots, and just seeing Zoe or Sigourney.
Or Sig.
Or, yeah, it's just like, I'm always, in the back of my mind, I'm like, that's Sigourney Weaver from Ghostbusters. Like, I've known her for 5 years now, and I'm like, that's Sigourney Weaver. So, it's always a special feeling.
Definitely.
And I also hear that Trinity might have a new college fund because of a curse jar? What happened here?
Jar, yeah.
Actually, it didn't end up being a college fund because it was all donated to a good cause, to a canine shelter.
Canine shelter.
What comes out of one mouth goes into another mouth, and those happen to be puppies' mouths.
Nice.
But we made at least $500. F-bomb was $5. S-bomb was $1. What do you think, co-founder? What was the rest? What was our final,
Our final thing? I just remember Trinity going around and saying, oh, that'll be $5. And then the guy would be like, ugh, whatever, kid. And then, we'd get money, and it was good.
Sometimes we'd let them off, though.
Sometimes, but I mean, hey, $500 is a lot of money to,
Yeah.
Didn't leave
But
too many people off the hook.
Considering how much, like, for example, Sam curses day to day.
Yeah.
I think it was more than $500 if you count every single one.
Yeah.
Sam just rolls up with a wallet. It's like, hey, come here, Trinity. I got like, can I
would.
get credit $30 for at least the next hour?
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd cover what, like 10 F-bombs to be like, oh, I paid my debt.
That's hilarious. Well, all right. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. I want to tell everybody to go check out Avatar, The Way of Water. It is in theaters now. Thank you guys for being with me this morning.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you guys very much for tuning in once again to New Mexico Rising. We're here every Sunday morning from 5:30 a.m. Yes, if you want to be part of the show, all you got to do is email us. Our email is newmexicorising@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and send us anything. If you're a new small business, or if you're a band, musician, artist, if you got a nonprofit and you want to talk about it right here on the show, we'd be happy to bring you in, and we'll hang out and talk about your products and whatever's going on in New Mexico. That's what we do right here every Sunday morning, right here before the news on KRQE. So thanks for joining me once again. Until next week, that was New Mexico Rising.